Hello, I am Mike.
Hello, I am Lily. Welcome to English Podcast Flow.
How to study English when you're tired. And I think we can all relate to that, right? I mean, everybody gets tired, and
Yeah.
sometimes you still want to learn English, but it's like, oh gosh, how can I possibly study right now? I'm so tired.
Yeah, it's so true. We've all been there. I mean, who hasn't felt that way, right? When you're just exhausted, but you really want to make progress with your English.
Right, exactly. And so we thought, okay, let's talk about this. Let's help people out because it appears that there are ways to keep making progress with your English learning, even on those low energy days.
There are definitely ways you can still, be productive with your English, even if you don't have a ton of energy. And sometimes it can even be, a more enjoyable experience because it's just more relaxed, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and sometimes the best way to learn when you're tired is actually do less, not more. Right? So instead of, forcing yourself to study when your brain feels like totally fried,
Yeah.
maybe you shift gears to what we call like passive power techniques.
Passive power techniques. I love that. Yeah, that's a great way to put it because I think when you're tired, active learning, like reading textbooks or, writing essays, that can feel so overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
But passive learning, on the other hand, that allows you to kind of absorb information without expending as much mental energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the easiest ways to do this is to switch from reading to listening.
Mm.
So, just think about it. Like when you're tired, your eyes are probably already strained from staring at screens all day anyway,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So why not give them a break and just let your ears do the work for a while?
Totally. And it appears that listening to English, even in the background, can be a really effective way to improve your comprehension skills, your vocabulary, and you don't have to be, totally focused on it.
Right.
And the best part is you can do it while doing other things like cooking or cleaning or just, relaxing on the couch.
Absolutely. And there are so many great resources out there for passive listening practice.
Yeah.
Studies show that podcasts are fantastic for this, especially those that are designed for English learners.
Mm-hmm.
They often cover, a wide range of topics. They usually use clear and simple language. And a lot of them even include transcripts, so you can follow along if you want to.
Oh, yeah. That's a great tip. And I mean, don't forget about audiobooks too, right? Listening to like a captivating story in English.
Oh, yeah.
That's a wonderful way to immerse yourself in the language and improve your listening skills without even realizing, that you're actually studying.
That's so true. It's funny how that works, right? And if you're looking for something that's a little bit more visual, maybe you want to watch some short videos in English with subtitles.
Ah, that's a good idea.
Things like vlogs or, funny clips on YouTube or even like animated shows, those can be really good.
Yeah, because the combination of like the visual and auditory input that makes learning more engaging, right, and subtitles help you to pick up new vocabulary and understand the context of what you're hearing.
Right, exactly. And something else that I've heard is really helpful is just changing the language settings on your phone to English.
Oh, yeah.
It's a surprisingly effective way to passively absorb new words and phrases throughout the day.
It's really cool, actually. It appears that it's so subtle, but it's like this consistent exposure.
Right.
And you'd be surprised how quickly you start picking up everyday vocabulary just by navigating your phone's menus and apps.
Yeah, it's almost like learning by osmosis, right?
Right.
You're just surrounded by it and it's kind of seeping into your brain. And speaking of subtle ways to sneak in some English practice, have you ever tried listening to English podcasts or audiobooks while lying down?
I have, actually. Yeah.
What do you think?
It's actually really relaxing. It's a great way to wind down, before bed and just let your brain kind of absorb some new vocabulary, grammar structures as you're drifting off to sleep.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but studies show that our brains can actually continue to process information even when we're asleep. So you might be surprised by how much you retain just from passively listening before bed.
It's definitely worth a try. And you know what? Even if you don't feel like you're actively studying every minute that you spend engaging with English in any way, it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about like the power of passive learning, when you're feeling tired. But what about those times when you do have a little bit of energy to spare, maybe just like 5 or 10 minutes? What are some effective ways to kind of make the most of those short bursts of study time?
That's a great question because I think so many of us, we feel like if we can't dedicate like a big chunk of time to study, it's not even worth starting. But studies show that even these short bursts of focused effort can make a huge difference over time.
Absolutely, yeah.
It appears that it's all about finding those bite-sized action techniques that fit into your day, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And one of my favorite bite-sized action techniques is using flashcards. And I know some people think flashcards are old-fashioned or boring, but trust me, they're a really effective way to learn new vocabulary and to reinforce grammar rules.
Mhm.
And the best part is you can do them anywhere, anytime, even if you only have like 5 minutes to spare.
Yeah, and I have to admit, like, I used to think flashcards were kind of tedious too, but I recently discovered some amazing flashcard apps that have totally changed my perspective, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Tell me about those.
There are apps that use spaced repetition to help you remember words more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
There are apps with, like, gamified features that make learning fun, and there are even apps that let you create your own flashcards with images and audio recordings.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. It appears that technology has really like revolutionized the way we use flashcards.
It really has. And don't underestimate the power of actually making your own flashcards, you know?
Mhm.
The act of creating them is itself a form of active learning that helps to solidify that information in your brain.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, if you're looking for another bite-sized action technique that packs a punch, try speaking English out loud, even if it's just to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
It might feel strange at first, but talking to yourself in English, it's such a fantastic way to practice your pronunciation and your fluency and build your confidence.
Right.
You can describe what you're doing as you go about your day, have imaginary conversations in your head, or even practice giving presentations in front of the mirror.
I love that it's like you're your own little English coach, right?
Exactly.
And there's no pressure to be perfect, you know?
Right.
You're not worried about making mistakes because your only audience is yourself.
Exactly. And, speaking of practicing without pressure,
Yeah.
why not try writing a few sentences in English each day? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be anything complicated, just like a short journal entry or a summary of a news article or even just a list of things you're grateful for.
I think so many people get intimidated by writing in English, but it's important to remember that you don't have to be like a novelist, you know,
Right.
to benefit from writing practice.
Right.
Studies show that even short writing exercises can help to improve your grammar, your vocabulary, and your overall fluency.
Absolutely. And it can be a really cathartic and creative outlet, too. Don't be afraid to experiment with different writing styles, different topics. Find what you enjoy and just let the words flow.
I love that. And okay, so we've talked about passive power techniques. We've talked about bite-sized action techniques. But what about those times when you are just so tired that even 5 minutes of like focused study feels completely impossible? Are there still ways to keep your English learning journey going?
Absolutely. There are definitely still ways to kind of keep that momentum going, and we call those effortless engagement techniques, and that's where you can interact with English without feeling like you're actually studying.
Effortless engagement. Oh, that sounds like my kind of learning. Tell me more.
Well, one of the easiest and most enjoyable ways to kind of effortlessly engage with English is to simply read for pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Choose books, magazines, online articles that capture your interest and just kind of get lost in the story. And don't worry if you don't understand every single word.
Yeah.
Just focus on enjoying the reading experience and you'll be surprised how much you absorb naturally.
I love reading, and it's something I always recommend to my English students.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people, they get discouraged because they feel like they need to read, challenging classic novels to improve their English.
Right, yeah.
But that's not true at all, is it?
No, not at all. It appears that the most important thing is to choose material that you actually find enjoyable and engaging, So if you're a beginner, you can start with children's books, comics, or graded readers, which are specifically designed for English language learners.
Right.
And then as your skills improve, you can gradually move on to more challenging texts.
And I think that's such an important point, because if you're not enjoying the reading experience, you're just less likely to stick with it,
Exactly.
And reading should be a source of pleasure, not a chore.
Right. It should be fun. And speaking of enjoyable ways to engage with English, let's not forget about the world of language learning apps.
Oh, yes.
There are so many amazing apps out there that make learning fun and accessible even when you're feeling exhausted.
I am a huge fan of language learning apps. I think they're so great.
Me too.
They're perfect for those times when you have, a few minutes to spare, like when you're waiting in line or commuting or just relaxing before bed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an app for everyone whether you're looking to improve your vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, listening skills, you name it.
Yeah, totally. And some popular apps that come to mind are Duolingo, Babbel, and Memrise.
Oh, yeah.
They all offer interactive lessons, gamified features, personalized feedback, to help you stay motivated and track your progress.
And the best part is they break down learning into such bite-sized chunks so you don't feel overwhelmed, even if you only have, 5 or 10 minutes to dedicate to studying.
Exactly. It appears that these apps are a really fantastic way to supplement your other English learning activities and just make progress even on those days when you're feeling too tired for traditional study
All right,
methods.
and so we've covered a lot of ground today from passive power techniques to effortless engagement strategies. But before we wrap up this part of our conversation, I want to touch on something that I think is really important, and that is self-care.
Yes, absolutely. Self-care is so important, and it's so easy to get caught up in the pressure to learn quickly, you know?
Yeah.
And to feel guilty when we take breaks, but rest is just as crucial to the learning process as any study session.
I completely agree. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our English learning journey is to simply step away and recharge our batteries.
Mm.
If you're feeling burnt out, stressed, or overwhelmed, it's okay to take a break and come back to it when you're feeling more refreshed.
Exactly. It appears that our brains need time to process information, to consolidate those memories, and make new connections. And when we push ourselves too hard, we risk burnout, and we actually can hinder our progress in the long run.
Yeah, that's such an important reminder. So instead of feeling guilty about taking breaks, embrace them. See them as an essential part of the learning process.
Mm-hmm.
Go for a walk, spend time with loved ones, engage in hobbies that bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever you need to do to relax and rejuvenate your mind and body.
Yeah, I love that. And then when you do come back to your English studies, you'll find that you're more focused, you're more motivated, you're more ready to learn.
Right.
Remember, learning a language, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's so true.
It's about consistency, not intensity. So be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and don't be afraid to take breaks when you need them.
That is such great advice. And speaking of celebrating progress, it's important to remember that every step you take, no matter how small, it brings you closer to your goal of fluency.
Absolutely. Instead of focusing on your shortcomings or comparing yourself to others, celebrate your achievements along the way. Did you learn a new word today? Did you understand a podcast episode without subtitles? Did you successfully order your coffee in English? Those are all wins worth celebrating.
I love that perspective.
All right.
It's so easy to get caught up in the big picture,
Yeah, right.
and lose sight of all those little victories that make up the journey. But it's those small victories that keep us motivated and inspired to keep going.
Exactly. So be proud of your progress no matter how big or small. And remember that every step you take brings you closer to your goal.
I'm really glad we were talking about, the importance of self-care and celebrating those little wins, because it's so easy to lose sight of that when we're feeling tired and overwhelmed.
It's true. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the pressure to make progress quickly and feel like we're falling behind if we're not constantly studying. But it's so important to remember that learning a language is a personal journey, and it's not about comparing ourselves to others.
I think that is such a crucial point, because we
Yeah.
all have different learning styles. We have different goals, different lives, outside of language learning. And it's so essential to just respect our own individual pace and be kind to ourselves along the way.
Definitely. And it appears that one of the biggest things that people struggle with is staying motivated,
Oh, yeah.
especially when they're tired or, they experience setbacks. And so one of the most powerful things we can do is reconnect with our initial motivation. Like, why did we start learning English in the first place? What are our dreams and aspirations for the future?
I love that. Yeah, because sometimes when we're feeling stuck or discouraged,
Hmm.
it can be really helpful to remind ourselves of the bigger picture,
Right.
like why are we putting in all this effort? What do we hope to achieve with our English skills?
Yeah, exactly. And maybe it's the dream of traveling the world and connecting with people from different cultures. Maybe it's the desire to advance your career or pursue higher education. Or maybe it's just the joy of learning something new and expanding your horizons.
Right?
Whatever it is, let that be your guiding light.
I love that. And, it's also important to remember that learning English isn't just about achieving a specific goal.
Right.
It's about the journey itself. It's about the experiences we have, the people we meet, and just the personal growth that comes with embracing a new language and culture.
Absolutely. It's about, expanding our understanding of the world and ourselves. It's about challenging ourselves to step outside of our comfort zones and to embrace new ways of thinking and communicating.
Yeah, and it's about having fun along the way,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean, if
Think-
we're not enjoying the process, we're a lot less likely to stick with it.
Exactly. Learning should be a source of joy and fulfillment, not a chore or a burden. So if you're finding yourself feeling stressed or overwhelmed, take a step back.
Mhm.
Reconnect with those things that make learning English enjoyable for you.
I love it. Yeah, maybe it's watching, your favorite English language movies or TV shows. Maybe it's listening to music or podcasts. Maybe it's chatting with friends or, online communities.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, just make sure you're incorporating activities that, spark your interest and keep you engaged.
Totally. And don't be afraid to experiment, with different learning methods and resources.
Right.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to language learning. So find what works best for you and don't be afraid to try new things.
I think that's such great advice. And it's especially important for those times when we're feeling tired, because sometimes a change of scenery or a fresh perspective can be just what we need to kind of re-energize our motivation.
It's true. Sometimes we just need to shake things up a bit, try a new learning app or explore a different genre of English language content, connect with a new language partner.
Right. And so as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that learning English is a journey, not a destination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process of continuous growth and discovery, and it's okay to have ups and downs along the way.
Absolutely. There will be days when you feel energized and motivated, and then there will be days when you feel tired and discouraged. But the important thing is to just keep moving forward,
Well,
even if it's just one small step at a time.
right. And remember, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
There's this huge community of English language learners out there all over the world,
Yeah,
supporting each other, celebrating each other's successes.
that's right.
So don't be afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
Connect with others. Share your experiences.
Absolutely. And most importantly, just be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and never give up on your dreams.
I love that. And, well, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing all of your insights and advice. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure as well. And, thanks to all of our listeners for tuning in.
Yes, we'll be back next time with more tips and inspiration to help you on your English learning journey. Until then, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep having fun.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow and reach more English learners like you. By subscribing, you'll never miss a new episode, and by liking the video, you're letting us know you want more helpful content. Thank you for your support. It means so much to us.